who has also worked with me. I'm not sure if any of you guys know him. I don't think so because he helped me last time in tutoring CIE lab. I think, yeah, none of you was around then. So briefly to tell you about Mr. Tawheed Islam. So he is currently working as a software developer, okay, in a reputable company that is Global Legal Entity Identification in Germany. He's Bangladeshi. I think you can see him maybe afterwards. He's going to take off his camera. But you can see Tawheed is one of us in this Asia. He's also ex-IIUM student. I told you he worked with me, okay, for his master's program. And we actually have a few things together. We had a lot of paper collaboration exhibition, as well as a startup. Yes, I remember that startup. We call it the conferencealert.com. I was like, thinking it would not work, but alhamdulillah, it works. Yes, he has a very vast experience, especially in this web specialization, API development. He started up his career with EDV standard software in Malaysia. And after some time, he went back to Bangladesh, which he worked remotely, okay, as a senior software developer for another e-commerce company, Havana. I think maybe you guys know Havana Asia, okay. He worked with few company as a software developer, especially senior one. Okay, he also worked with one Brazil company called CatX. Okay, CatX IO. So why I'm saying this is for I can see that you guys are like almost moving out of the UIA or the university to start up your career. He can give a kind of ideas, and you can ask him question outside there what's going on in the developing world. For CIE students, I always mention that yeah, being in software will actually be a very an edge for you. So the tips of how to do this, you can ask the senior. Apart from like he's going to tell us what he is doing and what you are expected as. I mean, as a new coming up graduate, you are going into the world to see what is yeah, what's going to happen. Okay, so you can ask him something maybe about the future direction of maybe web, maybe life of a developer after bachelor. What next? What is his own experience? What can he share? Okay, or the right path to get a job, or a road to the web developer, or what we're doing today, which is a web engineering or web mining. So the rules and your responsibility. So I mean, it's a very open section, which I'm sure, inshallah, is going to make it interactive. So without taking much of your time, let's welcome Mr. Tawheed. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Tawheed, now it's yeah, your turn to take over the section.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. My name. Okay, let me open the camera so you guys can see me. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, we can see you.
Yes.
All right. So as ma'am mentioned, my name is Thouhedul Islam. So basically, first of all, thank you for giving, actually offering me to talk to you guys. It's actually a great opportunity for me, I would say. So yeah, let's get started actually. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming up.
Cool. All right. Can you see my presentation now? Is that clear to you?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Today I'm gonna talk about web engineering role and responsibility. So this is the topic, and definitely it will be an interesting topic, I guess. Since you guys are almost done your undergrad, so after that, most of you may be entering the job market. So if somebody is interested about the web engineering, maybe this topic is very helpful for you. A bit about me. So currently I live in Bangladesh, Dhaka. So, and I'm working as a software engineer, as ma'am mentioned, and I have two startup that's here. And I normally contribute a lot in Laracast. So Laracast is a very specific domain forum for Laravel. So I'm one of the top 10 contributor over there. So this is pretty much about me. Okay, so in this presentation, I will talk about what exactly the web engineering, what is the role, what would be the responsibilities of web engineering. Then if anybody is interested by any chance to be a web engineer, what would be the process, or how can you be a web engineer? Then finally, I would love to talk about the job market. How vast is the job market? And at the end, if you have any kind of question, I will try to clarify your queries. All right. The very first topic is, what is exactly web engineering? So before that, does anybody knows about web engineering? This is like a question. Um, can you hear me?
Yes. For me, I can hear you. I don't know others.
The rest of the participant
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
extend somehow to know about web engineering. All right, I think are they connected? I don't know. Anyways, okay, let's continue. The web engineering, I was searching in the internet. So what exactly the definition of web engineering? So to be honest, I found the most valuable information from the Wikipedia, and there are a lot of terminologies and jargons over there. So after reading this, I think it's like difficult to understand what exactly the web engineering. Then what I did, I based on my experience and extraction from the Wikipedia definition, I come out with terms that what exactly the web engineering. So to precise the definition, the web engineer, a person or an engineer who works for web. So here I refer the work word is, it can be maintain the website or develop website, or can be both. So mainly there are a lot of terminology for web engineering. So web design, development, API development, server management, database administrator, a lot of areas. That's we consider the terms for in job market. But mainly, if we look into the area, there are two main areas, that is design and development. Okay, now if you look into the job market, there are few terminology you need to know actually. That's called web engineering. So secondly, front-end engineering or developer, whatever you call it, it's basically the web engineering. It's a little bit advanced level. And then web developer or backend developer or engineer, again the same thing. There's a one term called web architect. It's the person who designed the web application, mainly database system, who is able to design all the stuff. Then full stack developer, of course, the person is like an all-rounding who can perform the all-rounding performance. That's called full stack developer. Then some terms that's called API developer, so who is able to do like API development. All right, this is the kind of terms. Now, what would be the role of a web engineer, right? This is a common question. Okay, the first of all, you need to know how to draw a wireframe. So it's like you know, you need to design things from business idea to the technical terms. We normally use the wireframe for designing this. Then of course you need to able to do design the template to be a web engineer. Then you need to know what would be the right architecture for your application, especially the design pattern or methodologies for your application. How do you want to implement the code? The next thing should be the choosing the right language. So there are a lot of languages around the world. So it depends on your system requirement. You need to choose the right language. It could be JS or Python, PHP, whatever is suit for your uh, business requirement. Then finally, that's the develop the application. Of course, as an engineer, you need to know how to develop the application, right? This is the main responsibilities. And of course, the testing is important. Testing I refer here is that automated testing. Of course, okay, if you build, then you can test manually by browser. That's just one way of testing. That's called manual test. But there's another way of testing during development. That's called automated test. You write the script that will automatically run. So any other developer in your team just write the test, and he or she is able to know what's going on in your system. So how many modules are working and how many is not work, and if it doesn't work, what is the purpose or reason, you can see everything. And finally, once you are able to do all the things, you just the product. This is the role of a web engineer basically. Then I mainly from this list I choose mostly terms. The first of all is called the right architecture. I mentioned the right architecture, right? So what I mean by the right architecture, you need to understand. So I'm sure all of you, since you're from computer engineering background, all of you heard about the object-oriented programming, right? So architecture means that the way you want to solve a particular problem. This is like a methodology. During writing our thesis, normally we all do the methodology, right? Way to solve a particular problem. Architecture, I refer architecture here as a methodology. So object-oriented programming is definitely one of the important architecture that needs to choose here. So mainly object-oriented programming based on few points like inheritance, composition, polymorphism, encapsulation, and interfaces. And I'm sure that if you learn any object-oriented programming language in undergraduate, definitely you have this knowledge. The next things you need to I just refer a reference book. I read this book from UI Library. This book is available in UI Library. I'm sure if you have any chance to read it, take a look. Actually, this is very famous book for design pattern and for basically for developer or for scientists actually. Uh, for scientists, normally they did 23 design pattern for object-oriented programming. So these books actually popular by known by the gang group because four scientists wrote this book. So if anybody interested about the design pattern to learn more about it, so I refer this book. This is one of the most valuable resources. All right, the next things I would say that's a solid design pattern. This is one kind of design pattern. So if you are interested about better approach to solve any particular problem, then focus on the solid. Solid basically the of 5 different approaches. So single responsibility principle represent the S, open close, then list scope substitution principle, interface segregation, and finally the dependency inversion principle. This is one of the widely used design pattern in web engineering nowadays. And then next is MVC. So of course MVC, I don't know whether you heard any framework like Laravel or CodeIgniter. Then of course most of the framework, especially the web version, are based on the MVC model framework. So yeah, so this is the design pattern that's mostly I prefer. You need to look into it. Then automated testing, another topic that I need to talk from the list, that's automated testing. So everybody is testing. So let's imagine that you are building a website, right? So you're building a website, then whatever you try to execute, then immediately you go to the browser and try to refresh it to see what exactly the visualization of your code, right? That's called a manual testing. So there are a lot of ways to do automated testing. So I just categorized a few of them. So one is TDD, that's called test-driven development. So this is kind of like approach or mentality that when you write your code, then you need to put in your head that, okay, I want to write the test first, then write the actual code. Make that testing pass, then go for actual code. Then I can be able to see that, okay, my code is working. There's no bug at least. Then the next one is behavior-driven development. So now let's imagine that you are building something for end user. Then you want to see that once user click on the button, a particular button, how it behave in the system. So that approach is called behavior-driven development. Then next one is domain-driven development. It's like it's different kind of domains. For example, like you are working for designing. So designing is one domain of application. Then you are working for the development, it's another domain. And finally, maybe testing or database modeling, whatever. So each of them are considering as a domain. So whenever you do testing, so domain-driven development is another approach that you can consider also. So mostly in our society, in our industry, normally we use test-driven development or TDD. That's widely used, but BDD also is considering one of the standard approaches right now. And most important things is code coverage. So let's say you are writing the testing, so you want to see that how many percentage of your code has been covered by testing, automated testing, right? So if it's covered less than 50%, definitely it's not accepted in the community. So minimum standard is 70% code coverage. So you need to think for that as well. Okay, now since I'm from PHP background, particularly I'm working for Laravel. So Laravel brings or PHP brings some automated testing that's called PHP unit, PHP spec, Behat, conception. Or Laravel brings something more specifically for Laravel that's called Laravel task. That's test the behavior of application. Now you know about web engineering, what exactly it is, then you know the role of a web engineering, right? Now I'm moving forward to the responsibilities of a web engineer. Okay, mainly there are a lot of terms we already know, right? So I just categorized them in 5 categories. So one is designer, developers, system architect, security engineer, and full stack developer. So the first one, if anyone wants to build their career as a designer, so they need at least good sense of design. Then they need okay, he or she needs to able to draw something from scratch, then need to able to use the utility softwares like Photoshop or Scratch or Illustrator or whatever, where you can draw the wireframes. Then of course the main responsibility of building templates, that depends on HTML and CSS. Make template interactive, maybe some modern JavaScript framework, React or Vue or Angular. And if you have some next, if you have some back-end knowledge, like how the back-end programming work, then it would be helpful. It may not required, but if you have, it would be like helpful for you. Then of course version control is important. Let's say you are designing one version, then your superior asks, okay, why not you change this component and do a new version. So you need to know how to control your versioning of your code. That's important. And then of course countless more things. I will explain what I mean by countless more things later. Okay, the next thing is web developer. If anybody wants to be a web developer by any chance, then the responsibilities should be a bit longer than a web designer. You need to, of course, you need to know the HTML and CSS. The next things you need to know how to manage the project, or somehow you need to have the knowledge of project management ability. You need to know JavaScript, Ajax. You need to have Java database knowledge. And the next thing is object-oriented programming. You need to know the MVC framework. You need to know the design pattern. You need to know the testing, automated testing. You need to know the API knowledge. You need to have the security, minimum security knowledge. It's good to have UI knowledge. It's not required, but good to have. Then version control, of course, is important. Then you need to know the package management, like Composer or NPM. Then, of course, you need to know the server management knowledge. This is the responsibility for web developer, right? Then, if anybody wants to be, okay, now I want to be a system architect. So what is the requirement? Okay, if I look into the requirement, the system architect requirement is almost same like the web developer, but particularly he needs to know more about the server management, security, and database management. That's the most important things, because he need to manage the system. He need to know how to draw the architecture of a system. Therefore, he needs to have strong knowledge on these areas. And the security engineers, to be honest, an engineer who is able to do security for a system, he needs to know A to Z for security. The main responsibility for a security engineer is to ensure the security for the system. There are no other jobs mainly, but if anybody okay, if a security engineer feels that, okay, I want to learn more about the programming also as well, so I can contribute more. This is like an advantage, but minimum requirement to ensure the security for the system. Now the last term is full stack developer. So as I mentioned before, the full stack developer meaning, so a person who is like act as all-rounder. He knows almost everything. He knows how to design, he knows how to develop, he knows how to architect the design. Then the security part as well. It's not like a advanced level, but at least the minimum viable part. So I would say if anybody wants to be a full stack developer, mostly it's a combination of web designer, web developer, system architect, and security engineer. All right. Now, these are the five categories, right? Now, I would love to talk about something else that's called special consideration. So why I say this two topics is special consideration. One is AI and another one is big data. I'm sure you guys heard about AI and big data in somehow in our maybe in industry or in somehow in your classes. Okay. Uh, the first question why I put this one is consideration and what is the importance of it. The first reason 1.7 megabyte of data is creating by every internet user in 2020. So whoever uses the internet in a daily basis, every second they are creating 1.7 megabyte of data. The second point, in the last 2 years alone, 90% of world data has been created. Just imagine that, okay, maybe uh, you have tons of data, then most of them are created by last 2 years alone. 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are produced by human in every single day in 2020. So I don't know exactly how to explain you quintillion byte, but one quintillion byte equal to this amount. I don't know how to tell you. Maybe a billion of billions megabyte or gigabyte, something like that. Okay, the next things by 2025 that every humans will produce 463 exabyte data by every day actually. And this is like prediction in 2025, right? So if I look into the exabyte definition, 1 exabyte equal to 1,000 petabytes, and 1 petabyte equal to 1 million gigabyte. So just imagine that how many data will be produced in 2025. And I'm sure that most of you use the Instagram. So Instagram is one of the platform where you can share your photos. So every single day, 95 million photos and videos are shared in Instagram. So just imagine that how many operations are going on behind the scene of Instagram. And 3.306 billion emails are sending every single day, and 5 million tweets are made by a day currently. So if we look into next 5 years, what would be that happened? I'm not so sure, but it would be like blast. So therefore, I put these two topic, AI and big data, in a special consideration. Although it's covered by the web development or web architect, but somehow this is important for us to consider as a special case. Okay, if you need more about how many data will be consumed in future and what would be the future for AI and big data, then I would say just Google it. You will see a lot of information about it. Okay, now I would love to talk about the AI. What exactly AI? AI actually is a program that automated detect based on some predefined data. For example, image detection. Let's say Google somehow detect our if you upload any kind of image to Google, somehow Google is able to detect what kind of image that is. That food, is that place, is that room or chair or books, whatever you upload. Google is capable enough to detect that what types of data. This is one of the part of AI. So there are few terminologies of AI. We call it AI developer or engineer, AI architect, machine learning engineer, data scientist, business intelligence developer, and a lot more in the industry. So all right, so to be an AI engineer or developer, whatever. So what requirement you need to have? First of all, you need to know how to solve any particular problem. The problem solving ability. Secondly, you need to have good knowledge on programming. So you need to know uh, almost the major programming languages, how to use it to solve any particular problem. Just keep in mind that ability to solve a particular problem is important. Knowing any programming language is like knowing how to use the tools. Programming language is kind of tools, like if you need to use you need to know when you need to the big hammer or small hammer, such kind of stuff. The next is, of course, algebra is important, linear algebra for AI. Then you need to have to know the probability to some extent, because in some cases you need to guess based on different predefined criteria. And the statistics as well is important. And somehow to train up your AI program or AI code, so you need a data. So data is required for train up your system. So that's why big data is somehow is required here. Of course, machine learning is one of the fundamental things for AI. Sometimes you need to use API to communicate between two devices, or in that case, so you need API for exchange data. And how, if you have knowledge of data science, that would be helpful. Now, what would be the language for AI? What language you choose? Most preferably in the market right now is use Python. If you look into the job market, of course, you will see that Python is one of the famous programming language for AI. Then people use R as another language, Lisp, Prolog, Go, Java. Java is, although considering the very in general programming language, but I would say it's a very important for AI as well. C or C++ is like a very low level programming language, and AIML. And of course, a lot more if you just Google it. But this is like a top few programming languages that you need to consider if you want to be an AI developer. By the way, can you hear me? Is everything clear to you?
Yes, yes, we're hearing you.
All right. Okay. The next things is big data, right? So another topic in our consideration is big data. So there are a few terminologies of also big data. That's called SQL developer or data engineer. Some people say that data extractor, data architect, data mining specialist, or data analyst, such kind of stuff. And of course, you will see a few more. It's actually depends on the company how they put their rules for an engineer, and based on that they put their terminologies. But mainly the most common terminologies are these. So if you want to be a big data engineer or analyst, so what is the requirement for you to know? First of all, definitely SQL or no SQL. Because you need to know how to process the data. The big data is something like you have a tons of data. You need to somehow extract data based on your business requirement. Okay, let's say UAE has 1 billion of student record from the beginning. So someone asks you, okay, can you extract all the students' name and nationalities with the metric card number from the 1 billion data? So this is a way of extracting data, right? So you need to know somehow how to write a query on the database so that I can get the expected data. Therefore, SQL is important. So no SQL is also quite popular right now because most of the companies are using because of the big amount of data. Next, you need to know the data warehouse. So this is also important because you need to have at least basic idea of how data warehouse work, how each warehouse are interacting. Because you need to have the sometimes you need to have backup to communicate or store some data. For example, you have 1 billion data of UIA. So if you put everything in one warehouse, it might be dangerous. If somehow your system crash or warehouse has any issue, then you lose all the data, right? So you need to have a backup plan to store this amount of data. Or maybe we can call it distributed network system. So you just share your data from the nearest data center. It depends on the architecture that you follow. But you, to be a big data engineer, you need to have the sense of the data warehouse as well. Then data architecture. So this is important. How do you store user data or data to a database? This is important because just imagine that the example of what a Snapchat or Instagram. So Instagram, we mentioned that in Instagram 95 million data are exchanging image and videos, right, every single day. So if you just imagine that you are designing a system that for each data exchange, you create a new row for in a table. Then every day, Instagram is creating 95 million row of data or 95 million row in a table for exchanging data, right? That's like a horrible situation for every single day, right? So you need to know how to design your data, how to store your data in a minimum way, so that if you have tons of data, so you can utilize it properly. You can store it in a systematic way, and you can grab it in a systematic approach. Then the next things you need to know about the programming, of course. There's no doubt currently for big data as well, Python is the one of the most choiceable programming languages. But beside that, beside Python, you can choose the Perl, you can choose R. Of course, Java is important here as well. Java, C, C++. And finally, I would say the operating system. You need to have the knowledge of Linux, especially. Why I say that Linux? Because there are a lot of advantages of using Linux, because it's an open source distributed system. You can have a lot of flexibility to change in the system, since you need to use the connect to the warehouse, you need to use the ports of the computer, and you need to install some servers and some other required software. So in that case, Linux will give you a lot of flexibility and permission to change it. That's all about big data if you want to be a big data engineer. Of course, the next things is you need to have data analysis tools. Somehow, to some extent, if you are familiar with some extraction tools, it would be helpful for you. Maybe you don't need to have the expert, but initially, if you know, okay, at least I know Apache, Hadoop, so at least you have some advantage on over some other candidate in the interview or job market. Then machine learning things you need to know. So how to use the machine learning, because big data somehow is connected with the machine learning in some extent. If you may need to use the machine learning things. Now, this is the special consideration we talked. Now, how to be a web engineer. If you want to be a web engineer, including the special consideration, what you need to know. Okay. First things, you need to have passion. Whatever you, okay, for example, you wanna be a web developer, right? So you need to have the passion that, okay, I want to learn the web developer, I want to play with it, I want to play around all the time with the web development, technology, information, and so on. Then dedication, of course. Without any kind of dedication, you cannot be in a good position. So if you want to be good at your area, so what you need to do, you need to spend a lot of time. To be honest, there is no shortcut way to be a good developer or good at anything. So practice. Next is practice. Of course, you need to do a practice. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you need to do practice a lot. There's no other ways, and of course the participation, question and answer. Okay. Now, to be an engineer, what you need to do, what you need to learn. Okay, first of all, you need to have UI UX design. I'm just going a bit quick here. So what you need to have UX design. So HTML. Of course, you need to, once you know the HTML, then you need to know the, okay, designing part CSS. And once you know the CSS, next things you need to the bootstrap or foundation for CSS framework. Then, okay, maybe I want to do some interaction on the website. That's I need script. Once you know JavaScript, the basic, then you need to know the Vue.js, React.js, or AngularJS is like modern framework of JavaScript. Then you need to know the core backend programming language, like anything, PHP, Python, or whatever you prefer. So I'm from PHP background, and then you need to know the object-oriented programming. Then you need to know the MVC. Then you need to know MVC-based any framework, for example, Laravel or Symfony or others. Then once you know the MVC, object-oriented and core programming language, you need to know how to use other people's code in your project. That's called dependency. So we can use the composer for project manage, composer for manager for PHP. Okay, finally, mission accomplished, right? Literally not. There are a lot more you need to know. So why do you put your data? So you need to have the database knowledge, right? SQL or any kind of database structure. Then you need to have the version control, of course. Then you need to, since you know the JavaScript, so you need to know the NPM part. Then you need to know the design pattern. This is most important in this industry. Then once you know the design patterns, so now you are able to or capable enough to move to your position to higher level. You can be a senior programmer. Then can you you need to use the smart code editor, maybe VS Code or PHP Strong, whatever is smart in your area. Once you know that smart code editor, then you may able to know, okay, I'm interested to use, how can I use the command line to generate a file. For example, on Mac, you can write touch, then file, and with extension, then it will create the specific file. That will be helpful for you to code. Once you able to write all the codes and know all the design patterns, then you need to know how to manage your server. So therefore, you need to learn Apache Nginx. Then you need to go for Homestead, Vagrant, or Docker for synchronize between your live server and local server. Therefore, it will be helpful for you minimize the issues or problems. Then you need to know the namespacing. You need to know the regular expression. Testing, again, important. Security. Then since you are working for web, so Chrome developed tools or Firefox developed tools is important. You need to know that. Then performance tuning. Maybe you design a system that's loading and everything works fine, but for some reason it takes 1 minute to load, right? So no user will use your system, right? So in that case, you need to tune the performance. and a lot more. Here I am explaining what exactly the lot more. Lot more means that you have to be updated all the time, because our industry is changing very fast. So the code you are using right now, maybe 1 year later you won't see these users anymore. So you may need to learn something new, because industry is changing very rapidly. Okay, now I'm going quickly the job market evaluation. So since most of my audience are from Malaysia, I just look into the Malaysian job market. So which language you choose? I would say JS, PHP, Ruby on Rails, Node, or Django, whatever you prefer, you can choose. But before choosing the language, what you need to do? You need to consideration few things. Number one is job availability, because you are learning most critical things in the world, that's programming. Then you need to check that how many jobs are available in this market, on this area in the market. So you need to check it first. Then next, since it's job availability, of course you need to consider the salary, because you are working hard for getting paid, right? So if you don't get a handsome salary, so definitely there's no point to work. Next things you need to consider that how big is the programming language community. For example, if you want to learn JavaScript, how big is the JavaScript community, and how good is the resources of JavaScript. That's you need to consider. Now I was checking some screenshot from JobStreet yesterday. Then I was checking about JavaScript. So it's about like 1,100 jobs available right now in Malaysia only. Then on PHP, there's 1,000 jobs. On Python, there is 1,100 jobs again. So this you can consider. If you are interested more about how the big is the market, then you just go and check in the job street. Then come to the salary. So initially the average salary, I would say around 3K. That is good, handsome salary for the starting point. Once you just graduated, based on your experience, it should be changing. But here, this chart I got from the job street. It's categorized based on the different state. Now, final things. If you wanna prepare yourself for international market, right now you are checking everything in the local market, right? If you feel that okay, I want to improve my skill and prepare myself for international market, just consider yourself as a as a as a project, or as a product that you want to sell yourself to the international market. How can you do that? The first things, you need to root on the focus. Whatever you're learning, any core programming language, for example C, okay, just focus on the C functionality, how it works, why it works, why it works like that way. Then play around with the concept. For example, you learn how to use for loop, right? So play around with that. What else we can do with the for loop? The next is ask question. If you implement anything, first things, okay, ask question that why we use for loop, what's the purpose, and why it's suitable in this particular scenario. All right, then you need to prove the concept. Okay, you implement something, then does it suitable for that? Somehow you need to prove it, and then contribute to the community or open source. I would say there are a lot of community, especially Stack Overflow is one of the great community for the computer industry right now. However, GitHub, GitLab, there are a lot of open source community there where you can see the open source project where you can contribute. Finally, practice, practice, and practice. There's no alternative. All right. I literally end to my presentation. So I was a bit rushed because I was planning to demo one of my project. I would say it's better to have get some idea. So I will take the question a little bit later if you have anything. So maybe I would say maybe one of my startup things, the conference alert. This is the project that I was working in my free time mostly. That's built on the PHP, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and use some special kind of server. So this is working for uh, and this is actually working for the academic conferences. If anybody like want to spread their academic conferences to the particular audience, so basically they can use such kind of platform. So this platform has almost I think 30 or more than that, 30,000 plus academic conferences right now, and more than 5,000 institutes are using this one for their academic conferences. So including these universities, to be honest, and I'm really really honored that these universities are using this platform. And me and one of my friends is working for this project. And if you, for example, if you want to know more about the particular event, okay, for this one particularly, I want to go there details, okay, how it works, when, and go to the official site, uh, even though who is the organizer, if you want to see that organizer details here. So okay, so they have the 695 total conferences and such kind of stuff. So this is like one of the demo that I would love to show you guys. And this is and just behind the scene what I did actually, just to share you that I use here somehow PHP based AI. So I automated some things like category based on some special keyword. For example, if you use the economics here or technology, then it would goes to the technology category that I used here. This is a web version of the AI, I would say. So you can see here there's a discussion forum here also. If people has any kind of question about the conferences, how to present or whatever, or anything about research, they can ask, they can search here. And of course there's some blog also. So this is one demo, and I would say there is another demo that's called the Scholarship Union. That I work for providing scholarship information for scholarship seekers. This is like if anybody is interested to start a scholarship, they can go there. They can find their scholarship by country, by particular area or universities, and so on. So far, the purpose of showing the demo of this site, because I use some special things here. Again, this is also built on top of the PHP on Laravel, and database use the MySQL. But behind the scene, we used AI again here. We scrape some data from the internet. How we do, like we have a community links actually. We have a community links here, 15,600 community scholarship. We are grabbing from different kind of website in every 30 minutes. Our
I think he lost his connection, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay, he rejoined.
Can you hear me? I think you lost, right? I
Yeah,
was disconnected. I was disconnected. So do I need to go through again one more time? I don't know where did you guys stop?
it was on
Because
the scholarship
all
towards
right.
the end. I
So
think it's just disconnected just for a second, few seconds.
all right, just the last things, the important things. I was talking about the community scholarship. So in this website, actually, we use the web version of AI again. The purpose of it, we go for specific. We created some crawler. They go every 30 minutes to our predefined website and grab their data and check what kind of new post they did actually. So if they found any kind of new post, it looks like a Google crawler, how Google scrape data from the internet or from the website, and they put everything in their server. Then they make search more friendly. The same approach we use for here. So we just grab some predefined websites that listed here as a community link, so that this website will be like a more helpful for the scholarship seekers and get more appropriate searchable data. That's it in my side, I guess. And now I would say I would stop here. So if you guys have any question, so feel free to ask me.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Tawhid. It's very been yeah, very interesting. Though one can get lost also because of yes, there are so many things to be learned. I guess maybe one more time we might have to like maybe call you again. I hope we have time to see like all those things because it looks a kind of bulkier for people if you don't know where to start and how to start it. It will like be a kind of scary. I believe it's not something scary. It is just incremental of knowledge. It's only because you have already acquired like everything there, so it's like it looks very lengthy. But seriously, I believe it's something that we can do. We can start, and we can reach that level. It's just a matter of dedication. So once one is dedicated, um, the angle that really give me a good touch there is about when one is going to be a full stack. I mean, you need to have a very good knowledge of in and out of what is really going on in the this web, and especially when it comes to this scholarship of a thing which you're doing web scraping. So I think I have some of our projects that did web scraping. We're just very a kind of unfortunate that we couldn't lay our hands practically in the class. I did invite one of my students also, but I don't know, few didn't participate. It's supposed to give the remaining part of that web mining, which is more into web scraping, getting information like as you do
Mhm.
crawling. So you crawl and drop things in your own server, and it makes it easier to, I
Yep.
mean, to get those information. Anyway, we really appreciate you and we appreciate the talk. Thank you for sharing. So I just want to open it for anybody who have a question to ask Mr. Tawhid. Should maybe you want, yes, you want to be his apprentice. He has been always been very good in giving us workshop last time. Very free workshop on web engineering, website development, Laravel, and few of those. I think we can also do that. Even though you leave IUMEC, because knowledge is like you pick it wherever you found it. That is what
Yeah.
I believe. So you can please ask your question. That's just to, I mean, recap what he has. Yeah, very lengthy, but it looks so. What will I say? Mm,
it looks a little bit theoretical to those who have not been doing it, but I think those who are into the web side, or those who are into or web playing around with a website or web engineering, I think they can get what is going on. For those who cannot get as much also, I think we can have a kind of workshop that practically start from the beginning to the end of how those things is being developed, at least maybe a small project, a kind of small project from beginning to the end, so we can appreciate how you can connect your database with the front end, especially front end. I mean, the basic things there. Yeah. Okay. Question. We have another 10 minutes, inshallah, to go for question.
I have some question. Can I know what knowledge did you have when you first started your job? What programming language did you have when you started your job?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your question. So basically, I have knowledge on PHP, HTML, CSS, Photoshop. These are the first things, and a little bit about Laravel. So this is the first starting point when I started the job. Then one market, then I realized, okay, which one is the most important framework in the industry. Then I realized the Laravel is raising on the PHP. Then I pick that and I try to engage in the Laravel community as much as I can, and I try to learn of it. And okay, I tried my maximum effort to learn of it, and yeah, that's bring me here. Whatever I learned.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other question?
There is a question in the chat box there. This from Azrin. He said, "What's the advantage and disadvantages of Laravel framework compared to others?"
Okay. I have a lot of things to talk about it. There can be a lot of things to talk about it, but if I, very frankly, if I say that Laravel is the most updated PHP framework right now, therefore people take it. And why we love the Laravel? Because of its documentation, organized documentation, and the second is the community. Thirdly, I would say the resources. So if you choose any language, it has a good documentation, it has a huge number of community members, and it has a good amount of resources. And I would say this will be on top of the list, because as a developer you need these points, because this is important for you to day-to-day operation. If you have faced any problem, then if you ask in the community and you get the response straight away, then it would be definitely helpful for you, right? Therefore, I would say Laravel framework is a top on top of some other framework, because of course some framework has good documentation, but their community is not that strong. And the most interestingly, they are not updated the way Laravel is updating almost every single year. I think I try to summarize your answer, Azurin, right? So any other question?
Yeah, I have one question here. Okay,
Yeah.
if But I know it takes time because I remember when you were, this Laravel like 7 years ago. Yes, I know this. You have been building a kind of, but for a starter, for somebody who is finishing the uh, university right now, and
Mhm.
considering you want to go into this job market, how long do you think it's going to take the person, like some of my students who are interested in going to this kind of job market, how long is going to take them to at least acquire the basic knowledge of
Do
them
you
to
mean
be
that?
able to sit for the interview?
Do you mean the basic of Laravel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, in the presentation, I mentioned one thing, that's focus on the root, right? So what is the root of Laravel? The PHP, right? So why I'm saying that, so you need to learn the PHP first, at least the basic and object oriented, then you move to the Laravel. And if someone work, I don't know, in an average student like me, so if someone spend maybe 4 to 5 hours in a day, and I would say 2 to 3 months is good enough time for anyone to be prepared themselves for interview in a good company, actually, in Malaysian perspective at least.
All right.
Any
I
other
think
question?
there is no more question in the chats, and if no any question, okay, there is one from
Ah,
Ridwan.
I see. Okay. I know this guy. All right. Uh, view a strap or
Yes, I am.
tailwind better with Laravel. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Due to the popularity of Laravel, actually Laravel has a huge amount of developer group. Uh, I guess around 1 million, approximately, at least. So what actually Laravel founder was doing, or maintainers are doing, so they are supporting some JavaScript framework like Vue.js. Before they are supporting React.js. So what was happening actually? So then one of their maintainer feel that, okay, why not we build something on top of PHP that's act as like as Vue.js, and we can easily integrate on Laravel. Therefore, they invest liveware. All right, this is the answer why they bring the liveware on Laravel, right? So which one is better? Definitely, Vue.js will give you the flexibility. You can move to the any angle or any other project in the future. You have a lot of open path if you use the Vue.js, but liveware, it will strict you on the Laravel only. So this is the problem. And the Bootstrap or Tailwind, definitely you cannot compare Apple with Orange. So Bootstrap is like predefined, most of the things predefined. You just grab and build something in a real quick, right? But Tailwind CSS bring you a new concept. Okay, so you build something from the scratch, but at least you have a ground that's build Tailwind. So Tailwind and Bootstrap is not the same thing, but Tailwind is like at least 1 or 2 level down of the Bootstrap. So if you don't have CSS good amount of knowledge, so Tailwind is not the good choice for you to start. Yep.
All right. I think that's all questions from the chat box, and I think from other participants. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Tawhid. We really appreciate your sharing. Inshallah, we look forward to see a kind of a practical, hands-on on the on this web engineering. Maybe we just pick one small project, and you can maybe demonstrate within that. 1 to 2 hours, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
Yep.
So thank you very much. And we'll end this section with Surah Al Asr, and we'll see you guys, inshallah, in the next week. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Yeah, thank you very much.